Am I playing something too hard? What's a good amount of time to spend learning a piece? Is 1 month okay? Is 5 months okay? What's too easy and what's too hard? As a piano teacher, I see lots of students encountering this problem of picking pieces that are unsuitable for their level. In particular, picking pieces that are just a little bit too hard for them at the moment. They don't make visible progress, and their motivation unfortunately gets destroyed when they're on their 6th month and they're still learning the notes and they're not really getting anywhere with it. In this short video, I want to give you a guide to how long I think you should spend on each piece you select. There are 2 rough steps to learning any piece. Step 1 is learning the notes. And step 2 is mastering the flow of those notes. Step 1 is something like this. It's that kind of slower mechanical process of reading the notes, getting used to the sharps and the flats, and piecing things together bit by bit. Step 2, mastering the flow of notes, sounds something like this. It's this kind of more enjoyable process where you've got the notes down, you have some of the sections and the phrases in your hands, and you're starting to kind of piece all the Lego pieces together into one complete piece or song. If you're someone that's practicing 1 to 2 hours every single day, I think this whole process of learning the notes and mastering the flow of notes should take about 4 weeks. Now, some of you might feel a little bit shocked or challenged by this and go, wow, that is way too fast. I'm not able to do that in 4 weeks. I will get into why I think 4 weeks is a good sweet spot later in the video and also give you some tips about how to do this in 4 weeks. So roughly speaking, in that 4 weeks, you should be able to learn the notes in about, let's say, 1.5 weeks. And for 2.5 weeks is spent on mastering the flow of notes. Now, of course, there are a lot of factors that influence this rough duration. Things like how long's the piece, right? Is the piece 2 minutes or is it 10 minutes? How difficult is the piece? Does it look something like this or does it look something like this? And how deep is your practice, right? How are you kind of practicing in a kind of a gambly way, or are you taking small chunks and really focusing and practicing deeply so that you understand each note and each bar and each phrase? I'll talk more about these factors in a later part of the video, but we just talked about people who practice daily. Let's now move on to people who are practicing, let's say, on more of a part-time basis. You practice for between 3 to 4 times per week. If you're in this category, I think you should finish learning and mastering the flow of your notes in about 8 weeks. So roughly that's 2 times of someone who's practicing daily. So in the rough 8 weeks, about 3 weeks can be spent on learning the notes, and then 5 weeks can be spent on mastering the flow of those notes. This timeline is a rough guideline for me and the students I work with one-to-one. I find that this time frame of between 1 to 2 months is a sweet spot for growth and also, more importantly, your motivation. As piano learners, we're fueled by our own progress and our goals. Over my 20 years of piano playing, ups and downs, wins and failures, I found that it's really important that I feel and can experience visible progress when I'm working on a piece. If you're enjoying this lesson, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more free piano tips and tutorials. I found reflecting in my 20 years of experience and also seeing my students go through the same process that it's best to learn pieces that tackle these 3 points. Number 1, the piece has to pique our interest. So if we're not interested in the piece, we don't think it feels cool, we don't think it sounds cool, we're not going to practice it. Now, I know this is really common sense, but I think it's really important to pick something you love so that you will strive and try to get over the pain to actually learning it. Number 2, we need to learn pieces that are just a tad outside of our comfort zone. So I find that with me and my students, if we play too easy pieces, we won't feel challenged and we'll just discount the whole thing. If we practice and play pieces that are within our comfort zone, we'll feel okay. But if we play pieces that are just a tad outside of our comfort zone, we will really enjoy the growth of learning a new technique, learning a new skill, maybe improving on our sight reading. And that growth and learning something new is really gonna help us stay motivated and feel like we are contributing to our skills and our learning. And number 3, we need to pick pieces that we can feel successful as we're learning it. I have some students that unfortunately work on a piece for, let's say, 7 or 8 months, and they're not getting anywhere with it, and it just really kills their motivation. If I intervened earlier, I would have given them something just slightly easier to keep them kind of progressing, keep them moving, so that they keep their motivation and they keep improving step by step every day. Just going back to that rough timeline, if you're someone that is currently learning a piece and you are completely outside this guideline, for example, you are on your 7th or 8th month of learning a piece or a song and you're still kind of trying to figure out the notes rather than trying to master the flow of notes, I've got some bad news for you, and that is that this piece is too difficult for you currently. And I want to draw your attention to the word currently. This is influenced by Dr. Carol Dweck, her book Mindset, talking about fixed and growth mindset. This is a book I recommend all pianists to read. It really helps me to think about my practice in a different way. If a piece feels a little bit too hard for you at the moment, please don't worry. There are other pieces to work on first before you are ready to work on this harder piece later in your life. If you're on your 7th or 8th or 9th month and you're still sort of trying to figure out the notes, what it means is your brain is currently not able to process the technical requirements needed to execute the movements in that piece. But you will be able to in the future, I promise. And on the other end of the spectrum, if you're someone that kind of takes one day to learn the notes and a couple of days to master it, that piece is too simple for you. You're selling yourself short and you need to learn something a bit harder. So how long should someone work on a piece? My official recommendation is, of course, to practice daily. And you should take between 1 to 2 months to completely learn the notes and master everything. I find that my interest for a piece starts to go down within that kind of 1 to 2 months. So I want to make sure that in that time frame, I want to get as much of the piece into my hands as possible to learn it, and then I can happily move on to my next project in 1 to 2 months. I want to give you 3 tips here to help you to learn the piece in the time frame that I suggested for you. Tip number 1 is to really go slow. Learn bit by bit. When you're learning a piece, each finger movement should be a mindful movement. Mindful means you are present, you're not thinking about what you're going to have for lunch later. You are just thinking about fingers going up and down, how they move, how they turn on the keyboard. Just only about movements. Bit by bit. Tip number 2 is to don't allow yourself to make mistakes. I talk about this concept a few times in my channel about not gambling when you're playing piano. Try to go at a speed that is slow enough where you will not make a single mistake, because that's the only way that you will actually get to learn the notes, is by not making any mistakes. If you want to see a quick summary of this concept, click on this YouTube short I did a few months ago. Tip number 3 is to be patient. Now, I know that seems like a really common sense or a duh kind of point, but again, reflecting in my journey, in my ups and downs, in the times that I wasn't patient, I felt like day 2 or 3 was when I started to get bored or kind of frustrated, and I sort of lose that fire. But sometimes in the times that I prioritize being patient, I just kind of stuck with it a little bit more. And on day 6 and 7 is when the magic really starts to happen. It's where I've had enough sleep on it. It's where I've had enough kind of muscle memory work on it that I start to really feel the piece coming together. So make sure in your head and your brain and your heart and your soul, prioritize patience. Just know that it takes a couple of sleeps to really get into it. Be patient. How long do you take to learn a piece? Let me know in the comments. If you have other piano questions, make sure you leave them as comments below too. 90% of our content comes from your questions. Have a great day practicing, and I'll catch you in the next video.